Hey everybody, welcome to Radical Books and Politics. We are here in the city college, I'm always complaining at the city colleges. We're at the city hall, and we are advocating for the mask mandates to continue as well as vaccinations. You're going to hear from a number of speakers, and we're just getting up, so you're going to hear some noise and whatnot. So thanks so much for watching. If you like the show, like and subscribe. All right.
Sure, yeah. Oh, you can lock it if you need. Okay, thanks.
I wasn't planning on it. Dude, you didn't prepare me for that. What? Seriously. What? What, dude? No. No, I don't want to fuck it up. Sorry, dude. I'm going to end up saying Spanglish and then I'm going to look like an idiot.
Okay.
You do it in Spanish. Just kidding. No, you don't.
My Spanish is good. Well, I can't do
My computer cold. I ran so fast out of the house. I didn't put my shoes on, dude.
I am scared by the
Brother, please. You've done way more cameras than this.
I've never faced them.
Yes, you have.
I've never.
When we were at the one rally, dude, the cameras roll in front of you.
I didn't see them.
Breathe in, breathe out. Just look at that dude's logo then. See that purple logo?
Yeah, just think right in the
Yeah,
middle.
no. Just like when you look at people's faces and you're nervous, instead of looking at their eyes, you look at their forehead.
I haven't looked at this guy's face.
So you can look at that beautiful lady in the back. Or whatever, dude. Fuck. I'm gonna sound like I have fucking COVID.
Yeah, I'm happy I got this.
This is why we need masks. Stop the coughing.
Chicano getting a cough.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Lonette Sims. I'm the co-chair of an organization called Black Women Organizing for Power. I'm also in leadership of the People's Response Network that I'll be monitoring today's press conference. Thank you. Our first speaker is Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez of the 25th Ward.
Can you speak up a little bit on that, please? A little louder.
Yeah. Our first speaker is Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez from the 25th Ward, and he's also the lead sponsor of our ordinance, which is titled "Take the Vaccine to the People."
Woo!
Thank you.
Woo!
Good morning and buenos dias. It is, we're concerned that we can see the flexibilization of COVID-19 protocols. It is clear that we're in election season, and many elected officials have forgotten that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. We still have immunodeficient patients. We're still immunocompromised residents across the city of Chicago that need to make sure that we follow the CDC guidelines. CDC guidelines are very clear. We're still on the red alert in as many as 85% of the districts across the state. And here in the city of Chicago, as many as 45% of the Black community is still yet to be vaccinated.
Right.
We still have over 35% of the Latino community still yet to be vaccinated. Only 22% of 5 to 15-year-old kids in the district have been vaccinated, and we're yet to hear an ordinance that we have put forward back in March of 2021 to get vaccination in our schools. We see a slow progress in that matter. We continue to see with great concern that elected officials are more worried about their donors. They're more worried about pleasing certain parts of the population and forgetting about the Black and brown residents, many of whom are essential workers and their kids who attend CPS schools. CPS rates are below the average when we have 34% of kids vaccinated. So what we're asking to the mayor of the city of Chicago is to push and finally let us have a vote on the vaccination for all ordinance. What we have clearly what the science shows, what CDC guidelines show, that is to make sure that we have vaccination in our communities. We're also asking elected officials across the state to put aside political calculations and prioritize the health and well-being of our kids, our families, essential workers, and kids in our school districts. Brevemente en español, primero que nada agradecer a todos los quienes están aquí presentes, mamás, papás de familia, estudiantes, que tenemos también aquí estudiantes de CPS, también tenemos aquí expertos de salud pública que están urgiendo a todos los oficiales electos a poner, antes que los cálculos políticos, poner por encima de todo el bien y la salud pública de todos los residentes de la ciudad de Chicago y del estado de Illinois. Es con mucha preocupación que vemos que ya estamos en campañas políticas y se van olvidando las prioridades de salud pública. Vemos que ya vamos al más o menos del 45% de residentes negros de la ciudad que no han sido vacunados. Casi el 35% de la comunidad latina que todavía no ha sido vacunada. Con preocupación vemos que solo el 22% de niños y niñas de nuestro distrito de 5 a 11 años han sido vacunadas. Con preocupación vemos que políticos a lo largo del estado y aquí en la ciudad de Chicago tratan de poner por encima de la salud pública los cálculos políticos de siempre.
Right.
Queremos urgir a los oficiales electos que dejen de un lado la campaña política y prioricen antes que todo la salud y el bienestar de nuestros niños en el distrito, de nuestras familias, trabajadores esenciales que necesitan priorizar la salud pública. Especialmente preocupación con los pacientes y residentes que son inmunocomprometidos, que necesitan más que nada que tengamos urgentemente oficiales electos que pongan por encima de todo la salud pública. Muchas gracias.
Woo!
Woo!
Gracias, Byron.
Hi, everyone. Our second speaker is a youth activist by the name of Antonio Estrada.
No, Antonio Breed.
Antonio Breed, I'm sorry. And our youth activist from the People's Response Network.
Woo! All right, Antonio! Hit it.
You can take off your mask, Antonio.
You can take off your mask.
Oh, okay.
You got this, bro. Deep breath. Speak from the heart. Go up to the mic. Closer.
We're with you, Antonio.
Right.
Don't
Go
worry.
for it.
Hello, my name is Antonio Wood. I'm currently a student facing the harsh reality of the fact that people are still at risk years into the reign of the virus. I believe this is pure insanity that people at our highest pillars of leadership in Chicago still turn a blind eye to a virus that is attacking life as we know it. A virus that has taken over 36,000 people from us in the home. People who had families and lives yet to live. Yet, it's like to some people, lives taken away from us due to COVID don't matter.
Right.
Even now, in places like the Chicago metropolitan area, we still see the rates aren't going to drop anytime soon. We as a collective need to do something about this. If we don't, we will only see cases and deaths rise. This is why we need to continue fighting and show the best way to stop the spread of COVID-19. I'm lucky to be vaccinated and in fine health, but this is not the same for people. Even a full year after the release of the vaccine to all United States, only 75% of people in the U.S. have at least one dose of the vaccine, which may sound good on paper. That still means 1/4 of all Americans aren't vaccinated. With the spread and ability of COVID-19, 1 person out of 4 isn't a good enough statistic for a push to fight COVID.
Right.
We need to get the population vaccinated together. If we believe in safety, we should keep pushing. From everyone from Los Angeles, the Chicago metropolitan area, to Washington, D.C. We've been in this fight since 2020, and we're not stopping so close to the end.
Woo! Preach,
All right,
Antonio.
Antonio. Excellent.
And yes, he wrote that by himself.
Says his proud mother.
I am very proud of myself. I'm Jesú Estrada. I'm the chapter chair of Harold Washington College, Local 1600, Cook County College Teachers Union. And I'm also here as a concerned mother. I'm a mother of 2 CPS students, Antonio, who is 11, my daughter, who is 6. Oh shit! Oh, you're right. My son is 12 now. Sorry about that. Sorry, he just had a birthday recently. But I think that a lot of people are hoping this is over, and I'm here to tell you it's not. We are still living in a pandemic. People ask me, Jesú, why are you still fighting? Can I take my mask off? Are things back to normal? No, things are not back to normal. And as much as people want things to get better, and we got a little bit of a people for Omicron, this new variant could be devastating. And the thing that concerns me is that, I work at a community college. I work at Harold Washington. And I know that 70% of Chicago population is vaccinated. But a majority of the people that are not vaccinated are the students I serve, Black and brown students. I have had students tell me, I am not going to get vaccinated now, and I never will. And it's for them that I'm really concerned that they could be hospitalized or end up dying. And what about our children? Our children got a vaccine that didn't really protect them fully. When are they going to get their boosters? When are they going to get a vaccine that gives the antigens they need to fight this virus? I'm going to tell you a personal story. Over the holiday break, we all fully vaccinated booster, and my kids are vaccinated. We all got COVID. We were practicing the highest safety standards. And the lucky thing is, we didn't go to the hospital. That was protection. You see what I'm saying? It's not to say the vaccine didn't work. What I'm saying is there's a dire need for every American to get vaccinated or protected. And the way to do that is to keep the mask mandate, to keep people vaccinated. And I'm also representing the employees of Harold Washington District Office, full-time faculty, professionals, and security. And it's really unconscionable that they can work from home and students will not lose service. I have professionals that have family that are at risk, part-time tutors that are being made to come in the building, tutor students on a computer. This makes absolutely no sense when they could easily keep our students, our employees, and the community safe. It's irresponsible. So, how do we get out of this? How are we going to beat this thing? And like Antonio said, we got to do it collectively. But I also think what could help us is this outstanding ordinance sponsored by Byron Sigcho-Lopez called Take the Vaccine to the People. And I'm very proud of the 11 plus alderpersons that are standing on principle to support this ordinance. This ordinance would bring vaccines to the communities. It would bring testing to the communities. It would offer jobs for people in our communities to be contact tracers and more. And what happened to those COVID funds? Are they being spent on students, on the families that need them the most? I can guarantee you they're not. We need federal funding. We need state funding to help our workers, to help our families that are suffering. And many are suffering, and they're losing their homes, and they're on the streets. This is just one measure, one step. We could do this together. And I want to thank you all, the press, for being here. I want to thank all our allies, all our organizations that are here. But I'm going to tell you, our communities, our families deserve nothing less. Keep the masks, keep the vaccines, nothing short of that. Un poquito en español. Mi nombre es María de Jesús, soy la cabecilla de mi sindical, Cook County College Teachers Union en el colegio de Harold Washington, el distrito. Y nosotros tenemos muchos problemas, pero lo que le voy a decir es que la cosa no está normal. COVID todavía está afectando a mucha gente, especialmente a nuestra gente hispana, nuestra gente africanoamericana. Pero lo que estamos pidiendo es que a lo mínimo continúen de vacunar y que mantengan las mascarillas, porque a cualquier momento un negocio, una escuela en higher ed podría quitar la mandatoria de la vacuna. También estamos pidiendo que apoyen a esta ordenanza muy importante, lleva la vacuna a la gente que está sponsored por nuestro alderperson Byron Sigcho-Lopez. Y esta ordenancia, la gente en sus comunidades recibirían la vacuna, recibirían la prueba de COVID, para que no tuvieran que ir al hospital o ir al doctor. Podríamos tener muchos trabajos para gente que quisieran ser contact tracers. So, ojalá que nos apoyen, pero fundamentalmente no hay que deshacernos de las máscaras. No hay que hacer de las políticas de vacunar a los empleados, a los estudiantes, a los maestros. Gracias.
Excelente, compañera.
Oh, sorry, dude. Is that okay?
Yeah. Our next speaker is a parent by the name of Leigh Mabry White. She's a CPS parent and also a part of Activate Parents Chicago.
Good morning.
morning. My name is Leigh Mabry White, and I'm a proud mom of an autistic second grader in Chicago Public Schools. I am with Activate Chicago Parents. We represent parents and families who support public education and public school teachers. We are here to push back against the attacks on public schools by extremist groups and those who want to privatize, monetize, and control Chicago public schools.
Hear, hear.
All right.
First and foremost, we thank our teachers and their mighty, mighty union who sacrificed 4 days of pay to keep our children safely in school.
Amen.
Their safety agreement shields our students from the politicalization of masks and COVID mitigations. As Stacey Davis Gates has said, COVID mitigation is a group project. Universal masking keeps our schools open and our children as healthy as possible. Less than 30% of our elementary school children are vaccinated, and we need to hold steady for our children under 5 who do not have a vaccine available.
Right. Preach it.
I must use this opportunity to speak to our children with IEPs and 504s, many of whom are medically fragile and are protected under the American Disabilities Act. They are legally required to receive a free, appropriate public education. This makes masking of paramount importance for their health and safety. Our special education students deserve to feel safe in school, not to constantly be pushed aside for the sake of normalcy or for the sake of our comfort. Lastly, we demand Chicago Public Schools add the COVID vaccine to the list of required immunizations for fall 2022.
Woo!
We need a path forward, and masks in combination with vaccination are our only options to move in the direction that we all want. Activate Chicago Parents believes normal was never good enough for our students.
Preach.
So let's go ahead and cancel the Ehrman contract now.
Woo! Say louder.
Leigh is spelled Leigh. Mabry is Mabry, and White is White.
Speak up, sister. Speak up. Speak up.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Our next speaker coming to the stage is Erykah. She's a CPS mom and also represents Raise Your Hand, Illinois.
Woo! Raise your hand in the house. Woo!
Yes. Hi, my name is Erykah Nava. It is spelled Erykaah. Nava, Nava. I am a CPS parent to a first grader. I am also the communication strategy organizer for Illinois Raise Your Hand. We are here today because we are in support of continued mask mandates and vaccine mandates for the 2022-2023 school year. Recently, anti-mask and anti-vaccine protests led by mainly white wealthy parents and various electeds have risen across the nation and have now popped up in CPS. Those parents do not represent our community's most vulnerable and oppressed in our Chicago public schools, nor do they represent the care we have towards our disabled, immunocompromised, low-income, unvaccinated, and or Black and brown communities. Many of our CPS parents and community members are frontline workers, forcing them to be consistently exposed to COVID. Removing mask mandates continues the historical isolation and mass death of our most vulnerable community members. In addition, children 5 and younger remain unvaccinated, and it is unclear when we will receive a vaccine for them. We cannot leave those children and their families to fend for themselves in the middle of a pandemic. Children 5 to 11 still have a low vaccination rate, and only a bit over half of 12 to 18-year-olds are vaccinated. We need a vaccine mandate for schools. It is our communities who are dying from COVID and long COVID complications. We will not accept any more mass COVID deaths. We will not accept the ill-equipped way our government has handled this pandemic. We have the right to fight for our lives against the government that does not care about us. It is selfish and individualistic to want to return to your normal, because that means you get to ignore the mass death, violence, and pain our communities have gone through during and way before this pandemic. Normal has never been enough for our families, and returning to that would mean nothing has changed for our underfunded schools and communities. Normal for our communities has been understaffed schools, lack of materials, lack of P and AC systems, lack of funding, over-policed communities, poverty, lack of housing, racism, public school closures, gentrification, and dirty schools. That is systemic oppression.
That's right.
That is taking away our children's right to live and learn in a safe environment. We demand to keep all COVID medications for our schools, including masks, consistent testing for students and staff, vaccination clinics at schools, updated air ventilation and filtration systems, KN95 and N95 masks, and transparency on the COVID federal relief money that Mayor Lightfoot received for CPS.
Here, here.
We demand more teachers, mental health counselors, and nurses hired at schools in order to have a sustainable school community. We demand that CPS make an action plan for CPS students who have lost loved ones from COVID. We demand CPS directly aid homeless and low-income CPS families. We demand true and transformative equity for our CPS families. We will ask Mayor Lightfoot once again, where is the ARP money? When people tell us to learn to live with COVID, or COVID is like the flu, they are really saying our most vulnerable do not matter, that their lives are expendable for the sake of normalcy. Well, here we are here to show that we will never stop fighting for each other's safety and lives. Hey!
All right, Erykah. Woo!
Our next speaker is Bea Weastrate. She's a CPS grandmother.
All right, Bea. We love grandmothers.
Good morning. I have a 13-year-old grandson in CPS. He is fully vaccinated, boosted, and asthmatic. His mom and stepdad are fully vaccinated and boosted. His 4-year-old sister is not, because there's nothing available for her at this point. CPS is not doing enough to protect students, teachers, and staff. As Leigh mentioned, Ehrman has been problematic at best. They don't necessarily clean schools thoroughly, and some are not cleaned at all. You cannot sanitize when it's not being cleaned. Children deserve to have something to go to a school that's clean and sanitary. It's well known that kids are exposed to things at school. And you know this if you have kids at school. They just bring home whatever they are exposed to at school and then expose their families. Some kids at my grandson's school have recently had COVID. Masks, such as what we're wearing and many of you are wearing, are known to help prevent the spread of COVID and other illnesses. The mandate is in place in schools because the teachers' union insisted on it being in a written agreement. The teachers' union had to force CPS to do the right thing.
That's right.
And then they got vilified for doing the right thing. It should not happen that way. CPS should be bending over backwards to make sure that everyone in those schools is safe.
Here,
They're
here.
not. Now, CPS and the mayor have promised many things, and they have not fulfilled them. They have $2.6 billion available for providing masks, doing testing, contact tracing, paying for school nurses, using schools as vaccination sites, and more. That money is not being used. It's time to use that money, and it's time to replace Ehrman with a company that will do its job.
Here, here.
It's time for CPS to fulfill their promises. Thank you.
Woo!
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lonette Sims, and I'll be the next speaker. I'm a Chicago resident and an essential worker. I disagree with the removal of the indoor mask mandate and vaccine requirements. The Great Unmasking is a term coined by our sister, Candy Powers, and it perfectly describes the situation that we find ourselves in right now. Will result in tragic consequences at the expense of essential workers across the city and the state. COVID-19 is spread through airborne transmission with particles and droplets of an affected person. The virus remains in the air hours after the affected person has left the room. Studies have shown that the new subvariant of Omicron is 30% more transmissible than the original variant. Essential workers are burdened with trying to keep themselves and their families safe. It's year 3 of the pandemic, and essential workers are defenseless. We are removing the indoor mask mandate and vaccine requirements while the city has experienced a racial gap in vaccine accessibility since the creation of the virus. Many essential workers reside in the 26 high COVID vulnerability areas located in Chicago. Elected officials, IDPH and CDPH, are responsible for ensuring that every resident has access to the vaccine. High COVID vulnerability areas should not even exist.
That's right.
The Take the Vaccine to the People ordinance will eliminate vaccine barriers. And I encourage aldermen who haven't co-sponsored this ordinance to co-sponsor this ordinance. And I also encourage my fellow residents to demand that their aldermen co-sponsor this ordinance. This ordinance illustrates public health for the people, by the people. Thank you.
Woo!
So our last speaker is Dr. Howard Ehrman, who is the former Chicago Assistant Health Commissioner and UIC Assistant Professor. I'm sorry.
All right, Howard.
You got it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Howard Ehrman. Voy a repetir todo en español. Howard-Ehrman. This is a map of the United States this morning from the Center for Disease Control. It shows that 92% of all counties in the United States, including 96 of 102 counties in Illinois, all the counties, Cook and all the surrounding counties, are either red or orange, the highest level of transmission of COVID. What does this mean? It means that right now, in the next week, several people standing here are going to get infected or newly infected or have a repeat infection of COVID because you go inside and nobody is going to be wearing a mask. This is a graph from the CDC data that shows 12 states with vaccinations by race. In every one of the states, including Illinois, whites are 2 to 3 times more likely to be vaccinated than either blacks or Latinos, while blacks and Latinos are 2 to 3 times more likely to get infected and die. This is a question of racism that starts at the top with the President of the United States and the CDC director, who basically want us to believe that now everything's okay because this disease formally is now endemic. I mean, it's like the flu, but it's not like the flu. It's 15 times more likely to be transmitted than the flu. You're 6 times more likely to die than the flu. And who's going to get this disease first? It's primarily black and brown children in Chicago public schools, including my 2 grandchildren. It's primarily frontline workers who are working right now in restaurants, bars, Amazon warehouses, and factories. This is a crime against humanity. This is genocide, nothing less. The answer to this is an ordinance that was developed by Dr. Barbara Norman, the former Deputy Commissioner of Health, under Mayor Washington, myself, and many people who are standing here, which is very simple. It basically says, take vaccine, take testing directly into the schools, into the churches, into the Park District field houses like we did for 170 years before this. Do not tell people they have to make an appointment to get a test. Do not tell people they have to make an appointment to get a vaccine. That is genocide against the most vulnerable people. So we have to pass this. It has to come out of the Rules Committee, where this mayor is basically keeping it in there. And that's what we intend to do. One last thing I want to just explain. January 21st, 2020, 15 miles northwest of here, the world's busiest airport. A couple flew directly from Wuhan, China into O'Hare Field, walked through the entire international terminal, stood in line in immigration, went through customs, and basically then the next day was found to have the second case of COVID known in the United States. What did our mayor and incompetent health commissioner say? basically said, don't worry, we don't have any community transmission when we had no testing. We had community transmission then, we have much more now. En español, mi nombre es Dr. Howard Ehrman, fui el comisionado asistente aquí en Chicago entre 1985 y 1991. Voy a presentar un plan de Estados Unidos que dice que son más de 92% de los condados, incluyendo casi todos los condados de Illinois, el condado de Cook y todos los condados alrededor, donde la transmisión de esta enfermedad es muy alto, todavía es alto. No vamos a tener una seguridad para quitar las máscaras, para quitar los requisitos de las vacunas antes que todo está azul. Y nada más es un condado en todo el estado de Illinois que está azul. Es un crimen contra la humanidad, es genocidio, especialmente en contra la gente morena y la gente latina que existe aquí en esta ciudad, en todo el estado y Estados Unidos. Nosotros ya proponemos hace casi un año por el concejal Byron Sigcho-Lopez una ordenanza muy clara que vamos a llevar las vacunas, las pruebas de COVID y todo lo demás adentro de todas las comunidades, en cada escuela, en cada iglesia, en cada parque, en cada sitio de trabajo. Esta ordenanza tenemos que pasar, pero la alcaldesa no quiere porque quiere privatizar todo el dinero. Ya tenemos datos que vamos a presentar en 2 semanas, datos que dice que 90% de todo el dinero que llegó a Chicago, incluyendo en las escuelas públicas, no está gastando en las escuelas ni tampoco en el Departamento de Salud. Está gastando con organizaciones privadas y compañías privadas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, WBM.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello,
How are you
doctor.
today?
How are you?
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
we got enough.
Thank you, brothers. I really appreciate y'all. Seriously. I'm always happy to see you. You bet. Antonio Breed. B-R-E-E-D. And he's 12, not 11. He goes to National Teachers Academy. I'm sorry, you can answer for yourself. I'm sorry.
You did a very good job.
Thank you.
National Teachers Academy. Where's that at?
That's off in Erykah near Chinatown. That's a school that the mayor was trying to close for the bourgeoisie, and they got together, fought for 2 years. The judge ruled in favor of the school. It's a very, very progressive African-American school. It's amazing.
So you're in 7th grade?
6th grade.
6th grade.
And on the debate team. Since 5th grade. He's been on the debate team since 5th grade.
It's Dr. Jesú.
Yes. J-E-S, accent on the U.
Okay.
Estrada.
I thought that was a misprint.
No, it's not. I go by my middle name. My first name is Maria, so too many Marias in the world, right? Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you like the stream. Bye.